Hey, hey, we are live. There we go. Please let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything is going. Let me know because I did not do a sound check like I normally do because, of course, I didn't. So, we're kind of freezing. Hopefully, that will go away. There we go. All right. Is everybody ready to party? Amazing. I've got my like sparkly shirt on because it's a party, right? I saw who did I see with the tiara? Was that um gosh, was that April? Was that April with the tiara in the group? Amazing. Smiley's here, Christine's here, Kez is here, Dee is here. What's up, Rob? Hello, V. Hey, Liz. Carol's here. We've got Vashti in the house. Amazing. I am so excited. I'm super, super stoked for today because this is all about celebrating you. I am just over the moon about how this week has been. It's been quite the week for me. I hope it's been an enjoyable and useful and great week for you as well. Shout out to anybody who's watching this on the replay, especially my friends in those distant Southern Hemisphere time zones. I am so excited. And I want to, before I even dive in, I just want to say thank you to those of you who've reached out individually to me via Messenger, via email. I've gotten your emails, I've gotten your messages. I haven't had a chance to respond to everybody individually yet. But I promise I will. So I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the kind words that you've sent my way. I feel so supported this week and so lucky to be here with all of you. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get my slides up so that we can get this party started, and then we'll dive right in. All right, you know the drill. I am still here. I can see you. And I'm stoked about it. All right, so hold on. I think my slides are a little bit stuck. Bear with me. Okay, so we've got some celebrating to do. Yes, indeed, we do. As soon as my slides get unstuck, we will celebrating. So we'll keep celebrating while we're waiting for my slides to wake up. Why don't you shout out in the comments your like number one win for this week? What was your number one victory that you had this week? I want to know. I want to hear it. Let's share that dopamine. All right. Yeah, let me know what your wins are. Can y'all still hear me? I think there we go. Yes. And what a week it's been. We're doing a few things today. We are celebrating our progress and our successes. We're giving each other virtual high fives. We are, and I'm going to start right now. Kez wrote 2,500 words yesterday. Amazing. Christine also started writing again and got 600 words in one day. Carol is, I love that, Carol. One more level of acceptance, one more level of hope. Amazing. One more level of self-acceptance. I love that. Dee, I feel similarly. Like if someone asks me on the spot my favorite movie, I'm like, I've never seen a film. Yeah, no, I can definitely identify with that. Oh, amazing. Sadaf started an outline of a new story. Love that. Smiley had a big takeaway. I can get a great collection of tools to deal with ADHD and writing. Amazing. Keep those wins coming. We're going to move on forward, and we are going to celebrate each other, spread that dopamine around, and we'll also look at my top tips for moving forward and how to decide on your next steps. And we'll also be talking about the ADHD Writers Guild. A number of you have asked me about that, so not to worry. Your questions will be answered today. And of course, we are announcing the winner of our contest. And so it really has been an incredible week. I kind of already went through this, but this is what's on the agenda today. And I am just absolutely over the moon to have you all here with me. Whether you're here live or on the replay, I'm stoked. So without further ado, let's do a quick recap. We did a super fast recap yesterday during the catch-up call. If you're joining us here and you haven't watched any of the material and you're kind of panicking like, oh, I haven't gotten through all of it or I haven't gone through any of it, check out yesterday's call first. You can watch like the first 20 or 30 minutes or so and get totally caught up. But we're going to do an even faster recap right now, blazing on through. Here we go with Workshop 1. Let's celebrate what has already happened this amazing week. So, in Workshop 1, we talked all about dopamine. We learned that ADHD is a difference in brain function that can present unique challenges to the ADHD writer, which is why traditional advice like just sit down and write can sometimes do more harm than good. Our struggles with initiating and completing writing projects often result from the way our dopamine system works. So instead of trying to force ourselves into a box, we need to work with our brains. And that brought us to Workshop 2, where we hacked the system. Oh, don't worry, Rob, you won't miss us. We're not going anywhere. We got you. Hacking the system in Workshop 2, we talked all about executive dysfunction and hyperfocus. So executive dysfunction can make it difficult to both initiate tasks and switch tasks. But hyperfocus is our secret weapon. We can focus on one thing for a really long time. So snapping out of executive dysfunction and triggering hyperfocus is essentially a formula for getting in the zone. So if we can hack that system, then we can hack our brains, hack our dopamine system, and dive into writing. So the dopamine hack method is what we introduced in Workshop 2, using what already brings us that writing joy, that writing satisfaction, those good writing feelings to give us a reliable and repeatable and sustainable source of dopamine to propel us into writing. Which brought us to Workshop 3, where we brought it all together because we are not just coming up with hacks, we want to actually incorporate them into our writing process. And so in order to do that, those hacks need to be concrete, they need to be prominent, and they need to be repeatable. And so these three features can be adjusted based on your goals, your process, and your brain, but they do need to be present in some form or another. But there's a lot of room for customization there. And so if you want more examples, we gave a lot of examples in Workshop 3, but we also did a huge brainstorm yesterday at the catch-up call and came up with a bunch more examples as a group. So if you need more examples of those, there's plenty to check out. Because the ultimate goal here is to cultivate a toolbox of hacks that you can continue to rely on whenever you need. Because ultimately, the goal is to understand our dopamine system and embrace our ADHD superpowers so that we can turn this into this. And so what a week it has been. It really has been an incredible week. You're probably feeling excited, at least I hope you're feeling excited, and it can be tempting to try to overhaul your whole writing life, try a million hacks, and then completely burn out. So I'm going to give you some advice for moving forward. So the first piece of advice is don't try to overhaul everything. Don't try to make a ton of drastic changes. Just focus on one small thing, one hack, one tweak you can make, one small change to take the next step forward. Because you have everything you need. I haven't held back this week. I have poured my heart and my soul into this workshop experience because I truly believe that it's possible for each and every one of us to build a writing life that works for our brain, with our brain, and that we don't have to fit our practice into a box that wasn't built for us in the first place. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what to expect as you move forward from this workshop and the obstacles that you might face so that you can be prepared for what lies ahead. So you might get super excited and overcommit yourself to goals that you don't actually care about. So I want you to take a pause and think about what you want to accomplish and how you want these dopamine hacks to support you, because this is about creating your writing life, not about trying to make your writing life look a certain way based on what other people are saying or what other people are telling you you should do. You also might feel a little guilty about perhaps not making it through all the material from this workshop series, and I get it. I have signed up for so many things, both free and paid, and then not engaged with them at all. It feels like it's too late and like I've failed and wasted an opportunity. But trust me, if you're watching this, you at least know that you are not alone and that you can work with your brain. And knowing that this is possible is half the battle. You still have time to watch the material. The replays are going to be up through August 17th. And even if you aren't able to do that, even if you aren't able to watch the replays, there are still steps that you can take to move forward, and we'll be talking about that today. You also might try a hack, and it might not work right away. Or it might work for a little while and then fizzle out as the novelty wears away. I want you to know that this is part of the process. And when you think about it, every setback is an opportunity. If a hack stops working, that's actually good news because it presents an opportunity to build more hacks into your toolbox. Yes, I said August, I meant September. Thank you, Carol. I do mean September. Yes, we are not traveling back in time. The videos will be up through September 17th because time does continue to move forward. So yes, thank you for that. So those are some of the obstacles that you might run into. You might overcommit yourself. You might feel guilty about maybe missing something, but you really haven't missed out on anything because as long as you know that you can do this, that it's possible for us, and that building a writing life for your brain is something that any of us can do, as long as you know that, you're all caught up as far as I'm concerned. And then also remembering that we got to embrace the process. We got to embrace the process because if our hacks stop working, then that just means we can build new things into our new hacks, new tools, new resources, new support systems, new strategies into our toolbox. And we can make our toolbox that much more robust. We learn about our process and our brains that much more. So embrace the process. And I really, really do want you to feel so proud of yourself because just a few days ago, these were the words you used when I asked about your immediate gut reaction to the idea of writing consistently. I asked you, when I say writing consistently, what comes to mind? What's the first thing that comes to mind? And these are the words that you're using. Impossible, attacked. It's always all or nothing. It sounds like a chore. It sounds boring. It sounds exhausting. How am I supposed to do that? I haven't done that in over a decade. I can't do that. I've never done that. That's what proper writers do, and I'm not one of them. I feel guilty. How on earth would you find the motivation and discipline? It feels impossible. I can't, and I should, but I struggle to. Those are the words that you used at the beginning of the week. So if you can go from this to this in just 1 week's time, because these are the words that you're using now. These are the words that you're using now. Possible. I can have a writing life. I'm not broken. We can find the tools. I'm not lazy. Now I feel like I can breathe. There is a way. I can. I'm going to be kind to myself. This is an amazing community. We're not alone. We can accept ourselves. I don't lack motivation. My writing practice will change forever. I've found my people. I'm not a failure. I can do this. We have superpowers. I just got goosebumps reading all of those. I just got goosebumps. And because these are the words that you are using to describe yourselves now. What a change. We went from that to that. If you can do that in just a few days and a few hours of working together and engaging in this community, imagine what else is possible for you. All you've done is 3 little workshops and a handful of coaching calls, and look how much has changed. If you can do this much with that little, imagine what else is possible for you if you continue to embrace this process. So a lot of you have been asking, Kathy, what are the next steps? What happens next? What do we do from here? Where do we go? What happens? How can we keep this community going? How can we harness this momentum? How can we continue to do these kinds of things and make real, lasting, sustainable changes? And so I'm going to talk through the different options for next steps. For each of those options, I'm going to make recommendations. And if you have any questions about what your next best step is, feel free to message me. I am always going to be honest. But for right now, I'm just going to lay out what those different options are that will be a little bit different depending on kind of where you're at in your journey. And so I'll talk in a little bit more detail. But we're just going to talk through the different options for moving forward. So option number 1 is to DIY it. Try it on your own. And I said before, you have everything you need. I've given you the method and I haven't held anything back. My goal for this workshop was that you would be able to walk away with the confidence that it is possible for you to build a writing life that works with your brain. You have the steps and the method and the material to do this on your own if you wish. And I have a Facebook group that you will all be free to join after this experience is over to continue this conversation. And folks in this workshop are super generous and have also been posting resources in our group throughout the week. So if you're looking to go down this DIY path, what I would recommend is that you think about what you want your writing life to look like first, before diving in and subscribing to all the newsletters and signing up for all the courses and signing up for all the workshops and joining every single group and subscribing to every single YouTube channel and on and on. Before you do that, really sit and consider what your ideal writing life is. That way, when you look for resources, you can more easily filter through the options and hopefully find what you're looking for. And another thing that has come up that I think is important to talk about is that this is just one part of the big picture. On the one hand, we know our goal is to develop an arsenal of hacks, a toolbox of hacks, strategies, resources. We know that this is just the beginning. And on the other hand, it's also important to acknowledge that we've focused our time and energy this week on the struggle of executive dysfunction. But as we all know, there are other challenges that come with being an ADHD writer, like organization and planning, like working memory issues, and there are other challenges that simply come with being a writer in general, like knowing how to figure out your next steps, developing and honing your craft, overcoming writer's block in all of its many and varying forms. So if you want more support than doing it on your own, I totally understand that. And so another option would be to work with somebody one-on-one. So with working with someone who understands writing and how writers develop, ideally working with someone who understands ADHD. Now, a couple of people have reached out and asked about this. I do offer some private one-on-one work, but you should know that I'm beginning to phase out this kind of work, at least for a while. Unfortunately, I haven't seen many other writing coaches or writing consultants who specialize in the ADHD writing process specifically. Maybe in the future, as we spread the good news that this is possible for writers like us. But if you want to do one-on-one work, there are plenty of other resources out there too. So what I would recommend is if you're looking into this option, if you want to do some one-on-one work, is that you start with someone to help your writing and someone to help your ADHD. Now, if you can find someone who can do both, that's awesome. But if you're looking for multiple people, different specialties, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice of what you might look for. So for helping with your ADHD, you can look at hiring an ADHD coach or finding a therapist who specializes in ADHD if you can. So depending on where you live and what insurance you have, therapy might be covered by that, but an ADHD coach would be another option, albeit a more costly option if you can't find a therapist who specializes in ADHD. And then for help with the writing side of things, that's going to depend on what phase your project is in. So if you're in the drafting phase or even the revision phase, you might want to hire a writing coach or a writing consultant. If you've written a draft and need to do some kind of radical large-scale revisions, you might consider hiring a developmental editor, which is a kind of editor who will read your entire manuscript and give you notes and advice for taking it to the next level. If you're in more of the kind of like final proofreading stage of things and you need another set of eyes on the mechanics, that's when you'll want to hire a proofreader or a copy editor. And so if you're looking for a one-on-one person and the stage that you're at, it wasn't really included in those examples, feel free to reach out to me and I can make recommendations. I have a lot of friends who do this kind of work, so I'd be very happy to connect you to people who can help you out. So now I'm not going to lie, this can get expensive, especially if you're hiring a combination of people. This can be a regular cost of several $100s. So you might also find, this is something else to be aware of, is you might also find that when you start a new project, you need to go back through this list and find different people to help. And I know for me, setting things up and making appointments and getting things started is a bit of a battle. So that's just something to be aware of as you're looking for potential folks to hire for one-on-one work. What phase am I at right now? What phase can this person help me in? And will they be able to help me in different phases? And so on. So those are some of the questions that you're going to want to ask before you start working with someone so that you can kind of minimize the pressure later. And if you're also coming to one-on-one work with you're combining the one-on-one work with various free groups for community support and maybe even multiple one-on-one coaches and multiple courses and multiple trainings, it can begin to be a bit overwhelming. So that's why it's important to start with, what do I want my life to look like? What are the resources that are going to help me get there? And then you can kind of pursue the avenues that make the most sense for you. So we've talked about two options already. The first option is to DIY it. Go for it. You have everything you need. You have absolutely everything you need. I haven't held anything back. And so you can absolutely do this on your own. Option two is if you want a little bit more support, you can find someone to work with you one-on-one or a combination of people, depending on what it is that you need most and what stage you're in. But if you want to build your writing practice and are serious about improving both your process and your writing itself, if you want to continue to learn about both your ADHD and writing and how they come together, and if you want to do this in a community of people who get it, let me tell you about a third option that has only existed for less than a year. So this is still relatively new, but it's very, very exciting. And so, of course, you know that this is coming. I let you know that this is coming. I'm talking about the ADHD Writers Guild. So those of you who've been asking me questions, this is where I'm going to answer them. And so let me know if you have more questions as they come up. Again, drop your questions in the chat. Happy to answer them. But I'm going to talk to you about the ADHD Writers Guild as this third option that if you don't want to go it alone and maybe you don't have the resources to hire one-on-one folks, that this might be a good third option for you. So the ADHD Writers Guild is an online writing center for ADHD writers to finish what you start and craft meaningful work on a regular basis by unlocking the writing practices that work with your brain. The core philosophy behind the Guild is that it is possible to work with the brain we have, and we can do that by combining clarity, community, and support. So first, I want you to have the clarity that you need to figure out the strategies, hacks, and other tools that will work for you so that you can always find the next step, move forward on the projects that mean the most to you, finish those projects, and continue to grow as a writer. But as we've seen, knowing what the next step is not the same as taking the next step, which is why it's also important to me that you have the support to actually implement the strategies that you've learned, to apply the tools that you've gained. And as we've seen this week, one of the best ways to help us get clarity and implement what we've learned and give us some dopamine to boot is by connecting with a community who understands, a community who gets it, which is why in the Guild, you don't have to go it alone. You'll have a community with you every step of the way. So here's what to expect in the Guild. So first thing that the kind of one of the cornerstones of what the Guild is and what the Guild does. I'm gonna try to sort through some tech stuff here. So yes, the first thing is the ADHD Writers Toolbox. So as a member of the Guild, you'll have access to a library of resources. So some of these are master classes, some of these are short video trainings, some of these are mini series. They're all ADHD friendly, and they are all about expanding your understanding of ADHD, getting clarity on your own brain, clarity on your writing process, and developing that arsenal of tools, strategies, and resources that you can pull from whenever you need to. And so some of the resources that we've had in the past year is we've had a mini series on working memory. We had a master class on developing an editorial calendar. Let's see, what else did we do over the past year? Ooh, we had one of my favorite ones was a series on nonlinear outlining, how to outline non-linearly. So those are some of the things that we've covered in the past, and it's something that we grow every month. We add new resources every month, and we get together and we work on these things. So these are all in the library of resources. It's all pre-recorded. I'm going to come out here and look at you guys. Let's get my face back here. There we go. Cool. So that is our library of resources. And so those are pre-recorded, but then if you've ever been in the situation where let's get to those slides again. If you've ever been in the situation where you sign up for something and then, oh yes, this is a great resource, I'm going to totally use that, and then never watch the videos, that's why we also have our Do It To It live workshops, which hopefully the thing will... Next slide. There we go. Our Do It To It live workshops, which is a live workshop that walks through the steps of whatever the newest resource is. So we add a new resource to the library every month, and the new and whatever the new resource is, we also take some time that month to work through that content together. So that's what the Do It To It live workshops are all about, because it does a couple of things. One of the things that it does is it enables folks to have another way of accessing the information. If maybe they don't want to engage with the pre-recorded stuff, they do better when things are kind of live and interactive. That's an option if that's the way that you learn best. And then the other thing that this does is it also enables you to kind of put it on your calendar that next Tuesday or next Thursday, the Guild is gonna be going through the work shutdown rituals, which was our most recent masterclass. They're gonna go through that material together, and so I'm gonna have it on my calendar. And so that's the Do It To It workshop. So it gives you, so the reason that this matters is that it's giving you accountability and the ability to actually implement the strategies that you learn in the toolbox. So the toolbox is important because it gives you the strategies and the information, and then the Do It To It live workshops are a way that you can engage with the material in a slightly different way and make sure that you make space to implement it. And then if you have been to any of our coaching calls, you know that they can be pretty fun, pretty chaotic. One of the things that we do in the guild is that we have hot seat style group coaching. So the way that, if you've never done a hot seat before, basically we have a random drawing at the beginning of the month, and one or two members are selected to be in the hot seat, and they essentially get one-on-one coaching. So we have one-on-one coaching, but everybody else is also invited. So everybody else in the guild is also there, is also present, and can also engage. And so the way that that works is we do one-on-one coaching, but anybody who is in attendance can also offer their own ideas and feedback and things like that, so that it's not just like one conversation. We can really draw on the community aspect that we love so much, and we can really draw on the collective wisdom of our group, because we've seen this week, it's when we all kind of come together and brainstorm and problem solve that's really where the magic happens. So that's a way to get some kind of one-on-one feedback and one-on-one coaching, while also in a group setting. And so those are monthly. So same with so we get a new resource every month, and then we have the live workshop, and then we have the hot seat coaching. So Carol, I see your comment that it sounds like 1 to 100 coaching. Eek. Well, so the way that it works is it's really just a one-on-one conversation, but we actually get to benefit from a larger collective wisdom, right? And so this is a way for us to kind of come together and help each other out. And it's also a way to you can listen to other people's coaching, and anyone who is here and is in the guild and who attended the last one that we had, I guess was that last week? Was that this week? Wow, all of the I think it was Wednesday. I think that was just Wednesday that we did that. Everything's kind of running together. But they can tell you that it's really useful to just hear other folks. You can not only you hear that they're going through the same stuff, but that you're also kind of like hearing the advice that they're getting both from me and from the collective group. And you can think about, how can I apply this to what I do? And now, if you don't want to be in the hot seat, you don't have to be in the hot seat, right? It's by random drawing. We open up the drawing at the beginning of the month, and everybody gets to submit their name who wants to. And if you don't want to be in the hot seat, you absolutely don't have to. You can still attend. Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. So we're going to get real, and it's going to be we're going to have those conversations. But the thing is our community is so great and supportive, as we've seen this week, that at least in my experience of our kind of group coaching experiences so far, that everyone is so supportive and open that it's such like a pleasant experience to share about our struggles, to talk through what's working, what's not working, and to really get some bespoke, tailored feedback on how we can keep moving forward. And so with the clarity from the toolbox, the implementation from the Do It To It workshops, and then the added clarity and the kind of like helpful adjustments that the group coaching provides, is that yes, absolutely. So like this is not a hot seat to be attacked. This is a hot seat for support and to find solutions. And that's what it's all about, right? As we love our community. And one of the other things that we love about our community is that we do co-writing sessions. So we've talked a bunch about body doubling, but we have three We have 3 regular co-writing sessions every month, and they're kind of spread out. They're at regular times during the month. So right now they are the first 3 Wednesdays. So we have the first Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. The second Wednesday is at 2 p.m. Eastern, and the third Wednesday is at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we have it a little bit spread out so folks who are in different time zones can attend. If we end up with vastly different time zones, we might make some adjustments to those times, but we have kind of 3 different ones that are spread out, but they're regular times that are predictable, and they're in our calendar so that you don't have to schedule them yourself. But if you want to schedule them yourself, and I don't know if Kirsty is here because Kirsty does a bunch of these and it's so helpful, but everyone loved these co-writing sessions so much that we added the ability to host your own co-writing session. So if you look at the calendar and you're like, I can't do any of those times, you can always host your own. And that gives you extra accountability because you are leading, so you got to show up. And so for those of you who want a little extra boost, yes, these are on Zoom. So this is a great question. So Carol asked if these are on Zoom. Yes. So the toolbox resource, those are, when I talk about the toolbox of resources, those are pre-recorded. So there's not a live component, but the live Do It To It workshops, those are all on Zoom. It's all interactive. We're hanging out with each other. The co-writing is all on Zoom. So it's that body doubling and Smiley. Body doubling is it refers to that the kind of like boosted productivity that we get when somebody else is with us. So when you go to the coffee shop, like in the before times when we used to go to the coffee shop and kind of use that space to write because it felt like, oh, other people are here, so I can't like fart around on YouTube. Other people are here with me. So that's or like if we are getting together for like a study date or things like that. I used to meet up, back in the before times, I would meet regularly with friends in like actual real public to co-write. And now most of the co-writing that I do is through Zoom. And so that's where our co-writing sessions are as well. And so we have both the ones that are regularly scheduled, and then if you want something else, if you had like none of those fit my schedule, or I want a little bit more accountability, then you can host one yourself. Because the reason I know that, Carol, is because I spend my time farting around on YouTube if I am left unsupervised. So yeah, okay. So I'm just checking my notes to make sure that I am not missing anything. Okay, cool. So, and we've mentioned it a few times. We've talked about how great it is. We've talked about how great it is here, having all of you here, that we will, of course, be continuing this community in the Guild. And now, if you still want to do it on your own, remember we still have a community, but we have a community that is a little bit more small, a little bit more intimate, and so we can go a little bit deeper in that community because we know everybody really well and we trust everyone there, because we're going to not just build community through, of course, our private Facebook group, but we also get to know one another really well. Oop, I keep bumping this. We get to know each other really well through the kind of like live components, whether that's the Do To It workshops or the group coaching or our co-writing sessions. So I really, really love our community. It's one of my absolute favorite parts of this whole experience, both the experience here in this workshop and my experience with the Guild. And if anyone is here, I think Liz is here from the Guild. The community is just amazing. And it really is like a beautiful place where, because we all kind of get it, because we all understand the struggles, it's a very like trusting and accepting group that if you show up like 20 minutes late to a call, who cares, right? If you are like kind of like rushing to the computer and you like, your hair is like wet because it's like, I led a co-writing session, I think last week, where my hair was wet. I had my hair up in a towel because I like didn't have time to like take a shower like earlier. And so it's just a like it's that kind of space where because we get it, there's that extra level of trust and that extra level of support where we just we get it. And so when things happen, and there's very little pressure. There's no pressure to mask. And if you're not familiar with the term masking, masking is the idea of a neurodivergent person who kind of tries to put on a face of a neurotypical person and almost kinds of, it's like pretending to be neurotypical in a way is like kind of a simple explanation of what that is. And so the beauty of this community that I found for me, especially that I wasn't necessarily expecting so much, is just really that like there's no pressure to mask, there's no pressure to be anything but who you are, and it's a place that feels like really welcoming, and that's something that I just absolutely cherish, and that matters a great deal to me. And so it matters to me that everybody in our community is comfortable, and that's why we talk a lot, especially as we get started. We're going to have an opening ceremony when we welcome all of our newbies in. We welcome y'all to the fam. And we talk about kind of what our philosophy is and our kind of values as a community. So that's something that's really important to me. Yeah, Liz. Yeah, it's just like, hey, towel. It happens. It can, it can be hard to kind of plan time for the basic stuff. Because I know for me, like, so I will put showering off until the very last moment. Yeah, no shame zone. Absolutely. Okay, so who is this for? Since we have a few more words on the slides, I'm just gonna like hide my face so that I'm not a distraction. But I am still here, of course. There we go. Okay. So this is for self-identified writers with ADHD. Now, you do not have to be diagnosed. You do not have to have an official diagnosis. This is something that is crafted for writers with ADHD. If you haven't been diagnosed, if you have been diagnosed, if you are working through similar struggles, but you're not totally sure you have ADHD, that's totally fine. This is a group that is crafted around the writing process and the writing experience of writers with ADHD. And so if you've enjoyed this workshop, then you're going to get a lot out of the guild as well. And so this is for folks who want writing to be a part of their lives, but maybe are struggling with executive dysfunction, struggling with kind of organization, struggling to hold everything in their heads as they're working, right? That working memory thing. But they want writing to be a part of their lives in some way. It's for people who genuinely want to improve and grow, that you want to learn and apply what you've learned and develop and continue to move forward. And it's also for people who value community. So as I just said, the community is very precious to me. It's very important to us. And so it's important that the folks who come into that space also have that same value, that they value that they value that community aspect, and that they value that kind of trust that we've built. And because it really is a family, and I'm so excited to be able to welcome new folks into that family. So who is this not for? And slide. Okay, who is this not for? This is not for God's gift to writing. We are here because we want to grow and improve. And if you are focused on why something won't work for you, or if you aren't really interested in growing, if you think you've already hit your peak of writing craft and writing process, then this is not going to do much for you because we are all about improving and moving forward and building each other up and continuing to make progress. So if you feel like you already have everything figured out, then this is not going to do much for you. It's also not for anyone who has zero passion for or interest in writing. I think that should probably go without saying. This is probably a duh kind of thing, but it does need to be said. Because if I ask you and if you want to write and you say, or if you're really only interested in this for one project, you just kind of want to like come in, finish one project and then leave and like never write again, you can't really like it your way to a like to growth, right? So if you're not totally sure, that's a different thing. If you're like, I'm not really sure what my, if I want this to be my career, I'm not really sure like how much I want to write, I'm not totally sure what my writing life should look like, that's okay. Not being sure about like what your writing life looks like, totally normal. But if you're not really interested in writing, or you just kind of want to like come in, grab what you can from the community, give nothing, and then like just peace out, that's you can't really just kind of halfway create a thriving community of writers who want to create long-term success. So it should go without saying that if you're not interested in writing, then this probably isn't the space for you, but it does need to be said because, again, we are all about community. I love the idea of getting a uniform or like maybe some jackets. And so then the other thing that the other type of person that this is not for is the folks who expect instant results. So we've talked about how this is a process, it's a journey. So if you're coming in and expecting to instantly write a bestseller in a week, you're going to be disappointed because that's not really what we're about. We're about long-term growth, long-term sustainability. Sustainability is huge, and we are for taking care of our brains while we're building the writing life that we want, and while we are building each other up and working together and taking those steps along the journey together. So if you're expecting to kind of reach the end of the yellow brick road right away, this is probably not the space for you. So I want to take a moment and talk about some of the bonus features that we have, especially since I come from a teaching background. So see, these are things that I'm bringing in as a teacher especially, and that I just wanted to highlight. So the first thing that I want to talk about because I come from a teaching background, I know that people learn best in different ways. And that's why all of the toolbox resources will include video lessons with speed adjustability and optional captions. They include written transcripts. They include workbooks and or other visual resources. And they're also, all of our toolbox resources are also on our private podcast feed so that you can absorb the material the way that works best for you. So there's no pressure to watch videos if you're not a video watcher. There's no pressure to listen to the podcast if you're not a podcast listener. There's no pressure to do the workbook if that's not the way that you learn best. But those are all kinds of options that you can consume the material, take it in, and get the most out of it, no matter how you learn. And so I love the idea for like literally wearing a different hat. I'm like occasionally like looking into the chat and y'all are a bunch of troublemakers. I love that. Oh, I love what Liz is saying here. I'm going to just like pull it up for a sec if I can get my computer to pay attention. So Liz says, I had to take a break from guild stuff for personal stuff. No one gave me any flack, no shame, and I could pick up the old recorded sessions or the toolbox or resources when I had the time again. And that's what it's all about, because it's all about having the resources that you need in the form that you need it in, and you can just leave the rest. And you're still going to get just as much out of it. In fact, you'll get more out of it if you're not trying to force yourself to learn in a way that doesn't make sense to you. So I really encourage folks to take what works and leave the rest. Oh, I know you're still listening. I have ADHD too, so I know that I could be having a conversation about what kinds of hats go best with different kinds of projects, right? Sherlock Holmes hats for writing about crime, wizard hats for high fantasy, right? Maybe like a tinfoil hat for sci-fi or something. Yeah. So I know how it is. We are all about we're all about like multitasking to the extreme almost. But yeah, okay. So we've talked about multimodal accessibility. That was that slide that, yes. We talked about multimodal accessibility. And now I want to talk about the searchable video library that we have. So has this ever happened to you? Have you ever been in a course where you have, let's say, watched a bunch of videos, and you know that somebody said something about something at some point. They said this thing and I only vaguely remember it, but I have no idea when they said it or where it was or which video it was or anything like that. I've definitely had that experience. And so all of our material is fully searchable. And so that means that if you are watching one video and you want to find a specific thing in that video, you can search in that individual video. And if you are looking for something and you have no idea what video it might be in, you can also search the entire database. You can search the entire video library and it will pull up the exact spot in each video where those keywords were said. So it's just like a Google, but instead of searching for articles, it is searching within the videos themselves. So it makes it a lot easier to find what you need. Yeah, Smiley, it happens to me all the time. And that's why this was something that was really important. Once I found out that this was possible, it was really important that it became a feature. Just because then you don't have to put any pressure to remember exactly where things are. You can just search and find it. So yes, so I'm gonna pull up, I'm gonna put my face back on. Hopefully. Everything's a little bit slower, but that's okay. All right, here we go. Yeah, so it's the, so it's really important for me that everyone is able to learn things in the way that they learn best, to find things that in a way that that makes sense. And so I've done, and so the folks who've been with me over almost a year, over the past year, have known that I've made a lot of tweaks and changes over the months, especially recently, to make sure that this is kind of streamlined, makes sense for the ADHD brain, and that it's easy to find the things that you're looking for. And also kind of easy to keep up with, easy to see what's new, easy to see what you've already watched, right? Like it's always nice to see that like check mark, completed check mark next to a video that you've watched and getting that kind of hit of dopamine. And so these are all things that I've tried to kind of build into the experience and the community, because that's really something that's really important to me. And so I want to shift away from kind of like what to what to expect to find in the guild. And I want to just turn and let some other folks have the floor for a moment and share some of the stories of those who have been with us for the past, I guess, yeah, almost year. So this is pretty exciting for me to share the stories of these folks. So I'm going to let them take most of the floor. So let's see if I can get everything's just like a little bit slower. So Liz is here. So Liz can talk about this. We looked at some of Liz's dopamine hacks in workshop 3. And the thing that is interesting about Liz's story is that it wasn't like Liz was coming to the guild as a total beginner. Liz had actually already finished a story that was over 1,000 words, but was having a lot of troubles figuring out what about that process worked and why it wasn't working now. And so she says it felt impossible to get in the zone of writing before the Guild, which was frustrating. It helped me as I'm pushing on to get my novel done, especially the co-writing sessions. I've used those to power through the boring parts of the writing process I've been putting off. The one we had this week, I compiled old notes. It helps so much to have someone else around when I'm doing it. It's nice to have several dopamine hacks, so if I'm not feeling one, I can switch to another. And so we all know Rhea. I don't know if Rhea's here. I know she's been going through a lot of like dental stuff this weekend, so definitely keeping her in our thoughts. But Rhea, as you know, is a very giving and generous nonfiction writer, and almost like the flip side of Liz, where Liz had kind of come in already having written a large piece. Rhea was coming in as more of a kind of like fresh start beginner, right? And so Rhea was starting out kind of just like, I've just decided to start writing a memoir. How do I do it? Where do I go? And we looked at some of Rhea's journey on Friday, when we heard about how she did that thing that we talked about, right? Overcommitting and taking on, I think, what was it, 15 courses? 15 courses at once and diving in, and it was too much. And so this is what Rhea had to say. Rhea said, I think the Guild really helped me in my early writing. The first workshop and coaching sessions helped me focus and also determine the best way for me to not only write, but also organize my days and writing schedule. It was great to have contact with others that had some of the same challenges as I did. And so we're all kind of hanging out together, right? Rhea is there and working on nonfiction and is a little earlier in her writing journey. And then Liz is there, who's had been on the writing journey for a little bit longer and is writing fiction. But we're all able to support one another, even if we're writing different projects, if we're on different places in our journey. And it's just about getting that clarity, getting that space to be yourself and to figure out how to not just overcome the obstacles that come with being an ADHD writer, but to harness the superpowers as well. And so I want to give one more person the spotlight. Katarina is an academic writer. And so if anybody here is not familiar with the way that academic publishing works, is that depending on your position and depending on your institution, a lot of times as an academic, you have to publish. It's part of your job description. It's not just you have to write, it's you have to publish. You have to have such and such many published peer-reviewed articles out every year, or they just like won't renew your contract. And it's a lot, it can be hugely high pressure. And so Katarina was really feeling the pressure of that. And when we talked about this, Katarina had a lot to say, and I had to pick just like a small snippet for you. But one of the things that she talked about that really stood out to me was that it wasn't like before she wasn't getting writing done. She was just doing it in a way that wasn't sustainable, just working all hours and just absolutely kind of forcing herself on. She used the term like bullying herself into getting writing done. And just thought that that's what writing was. That's what it meant to be a writer. That's what it meant to be an academic, is that you just had to struggle through it. It was a struggle. It was a marathon, and it just like wasn't going to be easy. And and she said that worked okay before she had kids, right? When she could still kind of spend most of her time writing. But now she has 2 daughters, and family is really important. So she can't just spend all day and all night writing all the time, right? So Katarina didn't have a lot of time to spare. but the way that she engaged with the community, she was able to get the things out to enable her to have a more sustainable writing practice where she could come to the multiple different writing projects that she was working on at once, know where she was at, know where to find her notes, feel kind of on top of things and in control. And so here's the way that she described it. She said, genuinely, this group has been so helpful for me. Absolutely, from the heart, it has helped so much. And just also the feeling that it will continue to help, because every time a new resource does drop, it's like, oh, wow, okay, so even more that I can try, even more that's helping. Just a feeling of being in the right place. And if you are here watching this, you are in the right place too, because we're in this together. And I think in reflecting over the past year or so of the Guild's history and experience, the thing that really stands out to me is that this is a place where we belong. And this is a place where we can be ourselves and be true to ourselves and be true to the actual goals that we have. And that's what it's all about, is just taking the next step forward together, taking the next steps that are right for us as individuals, and kind of having the support and the community and the resources to lean on. And so this is, to me, this is what it's all about. And thank you so much to Katerina, Liz, and Ria for sharing just a little snippet of your story with us today. I'm just like over the moon to hear what this journey has brought all of you. And so I want to talk, let's see, I'm not even sure what my next slide is. Oh, okay, I think I remember. Okay, I'm gonna like slide away again, but I'm still here. Oh, so Carol asked, do you ever schedule co-writing projects to do cleanup using the same tools so you can sing out as you go? How do I make Scrivener do XYZ? So the way that the way that the co-writing works is we're mostly just kind of doing, I'll come back and show my face again. The co-writing is it is just a pure like implementation that we do. The way that we have those structured is that we use a like quasi-optional Pomodoro method. And so the leader of the co-writing session, whether that's me or someone in our community, the leader will keep track of the Pomodoro sessions, set a timer, all that jazz, and we do a little bit of kind of goal setting and sharing of like what we're working on in the beginning, and then we dive into one Pomodoro, and then so 25 minutes of just writing time, and then we do 5-minute break, and then 25 on, 5 minutes off, 25 on, and then we come back, and it's usually all told, it's about between like 1.5 to 2 hours of co-writing, depending on kind of like how efficient we are at moving from break to Pomodoro. But that's basically how they're structured. But I say that those are like quasi-optional Pomodoros because some folks like to just dive into hyperfocus, and you are absolutely completely welcome to ignore the Pomodoro breaks. If you just want to work straight through for 1.5 to 2 hours, then totally up to you. So that's the way that the co-writing sessions work. In terms of the kind of like working through materials or a particular project together, that is more of what happens on the Do It To It live workshops. So that's where we are kind of going through whatever that resource is, step by step, and tackling the material together. So being able to kind of ask questions on the spot as we work through that material. And then for other things, for questions that are kind of like outside of both of those, that would be something that our hot seat group coaching calls would be perfect for. And then of course, always leaning on our community, because if there's something else that you are trying to figure out, like I think that my Scrivener is broken, somebody help me out, you can always post that in our Facebook group, and know that that's a safe space to get advice. So I hope that clears things up. I am considering at some point having one of our resources be a kind of ADHD friendly Scrivener tutorial, but I just got the newest version, so I have to kind of relearn Scrivener before I can make that happen, but that is something that's been on my list. So absolutely. Cool. So I hope that answered that question. Yeah, welcome, Rachel. I am going to take a I'm gonna switch over to my slides again. I'm gonna take a drink of water, and then we're gonna keep going. Yeah. So the co-writing, since everybody's working on a slightly different project, that's what that co-writing space is for. And then the do it to it workshops are more of that co-learning space where everybody's learning the same material and working through it together. So that's exactly it. So both of those things are part of the experience, but it just happens in a slightly different format. Okay. So, okay, come on, slides. You can do it. Clap if you believe. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so these are some of the things that are what our other members have to say. A fantastic program, and I'm so grateful for this community. One of our members messaged me, I'm loving my progress with this and learning about ADHD techniques. You definitely need to up your prices, though. It's worth way more than your original price. And then another piece of feedback, being part of the guild is absolutely golden to me. I shudder to think of how stuck I would be without it, which is really just the absolute best thing that I could ask to hear. And the reason that these don't have names attached to them is because, well, one of them, I know who sent it, but didn't get permission to use their name. So because I forgot to ask if I could use their name, I am not going to put it up there. And then the other two actually were I send out feedback forms periodically to see like kind of what people are interested in, what people need, kind of what sort of topics they're working through, what kind of struggles they're working through at the moment. And the other two, because that form was anonymous, I have no idea who sent them, but I really do appreciate it. If whoever you are out there, I appreciate you. And I think that it speaks to our community that like, this is the level of comfort and joy that we are enjoying with each other. So let's keep moving. So this is where I want to talk about the process and embracing the process, because making long-term lasting changes in your writing and in your writing process can take time and effort, right? The stories that we just looked at with Liz and Ria and Katerina, those are things that did not happen overnight, right? So making long-term lasting changes in your writing and lasting changes, sustainable changes in your writing process, those are things that take time and effort. These are changes that won't happen in a day. They're not going to happen in a week. They're probably not going to happen in a month, but the work that you put in now can transform your writing life forever. The fact that you've made it this far shows how dedicated to your craft you are. I'm dedicated too. So if you join the ADHD Writers Guild and in those first 30 days you realize this isn't for you, I will issue a full refund. So that's the guild. Here is what is included: the ADHD Writers Toolbox that grows every single month. Those have multimodal accessibility, which means that they're the accessible video options, including speed control and optional captions, our private podcast feed, and our private podcast feed, and the workbooks and the transcripts. All of that is part of the Writer's Toolbox. We have the Do It To It live workshops where we work through whatever the newest toolbox resource is that month. And then we also have the co-writing sessions where we can continue to implement and get writing done together. And then we also have our hot seat group coaching, which is another opportunity both to come together as a community, but also to get some more directed feedback and coaching, and to kind of share our collective wisdom while also all growing together. We also, of course, have our private community on Facebook, but that's a community that we also cultivate through all of these different live components, the workshops, the co-writing sessions, and the group coaching. Those are all places where our community grows. I mentioned the multimodal accessibility and the ability to search our videos. And now this number is not a random number. I did the math. I realized I didn't label it anything. I just kind of wrote it down and moved on with my life. But I did the math. I didn't just make up this number, that I calculated what this would cost if I added up the cost of each of these items individually. I can show you my math if you need, but collectively, this has a value of $1,190. That's far too far. I didn't want to do that. So what I'm going to tell you now is that you can join the ADHD Writers Guild. If the thing will switch, there we go, for $47 a month. Now, any of my members can tell you I am always working to improve and up-level the Guild experience, right? I send out the surveys, they get they get a chance to give their feedback and to let me know what's working and what isn't. So I'm always looking to take things to the next level. So it is pretty likely that sometime in the future that this price will increase, but you will be grandfathered in at this price. Your rate will never increase as long as you remain a member in good standing. And if you are all in, if you are listening to this and you are saying, yes, 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 this is exactly what I'm looking for, you can join at the discounted annual rate of $470 a year. So that is a $94 of savings. If you are looking at this, you know that you're all in and you want to come in for the full year, you can get a discounted rate. So now before I tell you how to join, I'm going to tell you about who won our prize package. So I'm going to come back on and let's see. All right, so I'm sorry that my computer is being so very slow today. It's been an interesting adventure for sure. But we got to announce, we got to reveal who won. And actually, I have not even done the drawing yet. I thought it would be fun to do this live. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to pull up the wheel. So I took everybody's, I'm just going to pull it up. I have to look at my other screen for a second. Come on. You can do it. Technology, right? Oh, no, it went away. Okay. Things are getting a little skippy and it's making me nervous because last time this happened, we completely lost the feed. So hopefully we'll still be here. I have to restore the tabs and hopefully they're still up. Sorry about this. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me know that you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Is everybody still here? Smiley's clapping. Clap if you believe. Clap if you believe in my poor computer, who's been such a struggle bus this whole week. It's been hanging on by a dear thread. Amazing. Okay, I've got the wheel up. So I have to kind of reshare my screen. Oh man. Ooh, okay, well, I'm glad you can still hear me. So I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully all of these choppy things will smooth themselves out. We are there we go. Okay. I'm so glad that you guys are having fun. It's been such an adventure. Okay, here we go. So I have all of your names up here. They've been randomized. All of the names for all of the entries. So folks had like, you know, the whatever number of entries you have, that's the number of times your name went into the drawing. So as you can see, there are a bunch of drawings and we're going to click it and we're going to find out who wins. So here we go. Spin. There it goes. It's spinning and April. Congratulations, April. I don't know if you're here, April, but congratulations. Congratulations, you have won. I am so excited. Congratulations. You are going to have a year's scholarship to the membership, and you will also have a couple of one-on-one consultations with me. So I will reach out in shortly after we close out today. I will be reaching out and getting you all set up. So we'll be sure to get you all set up for this week as we kind of move forward. Congrats to April. Well done. Super, super stoked. I'm going to move back over to hopefully my slides. Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, let's keep hearing it for April. I'm gonna hopefully get my slides under control. So awesome. Congratulations. Now, if you are a little disappointed that you didn't win, don't worry, because I do have an extra special bonus for the first 10 people to join at the annual rate. Looks like my video is finally caught up. So in case my audio cut out, ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. So if you're disappointed that you didn't win and you really had your heart set on those, the extra consultations, I have a special bonus for the first 10 people to join at the annual rate. For the first people who join at that annual rate, you will get a private one-on-one call with me to get momentum in your journey. So that's something that will happen to give you kind of a picture of what the next month in the guild looks like. Since we have just spent so much time and energy looking at dopamine hacks, we're going to kind of continue that momentum, and our first Do It To It live workshop is going to be a dopamine hack intensive, where we're going to be workshopping with each other the different dopamine hacks that we're working on, really refining those, talking through what that looks like. And so then at the end of the month, at the end of September / beginning of October is when the momentum calls will happen for those first 10 folks. So you'll get to kind of like keep riding the momentum and then get an extra boost as we move into the next month. And so that's the way that will work. And I'm silent. Can you hear me? Carol says I'm frozen and silent. Am I still silent? Let me know. Can you hear me? Can people hear me? Are we still here? Okay, we can hear. Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, my slides have gone all the way back to the beginning of the presentation for some reason. So I'm going to try to zip forward real quick And we will hopefully da, 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 da. Why did I make so many slides? Okay. This is why this is why we do it live, right? That it's like, when I'm here doing these workshops, like this is real. This is we're not polishing up anything. So here we go. Da da da. You can do it. Clap if you believe. There we go. Okay, so we've made it. We've made it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to pull up those slides again. Woohoo! Okay, there we go. So the first 10 folks is what we just talked about. I'll say it again because it sounded like maybe my sound cut out. The first 10 folks to join the ADHD Writers Guild at the annual rate will also get a private one-on-one consultation with me, and we'll use that to continue building on our momentum. So like approximately a month from now, we'll check in with each other, make sure that you have everything that you need, and you'll be able to continue that momentum moving forward. And so the next slide will have the link. And so because this is the first 10 folks, I'm just giving you the warning that the next slide is going to have the website to go to. So I'm going to flip the slide right now. Right now. You can do it. That's just going to be the theme of this whole day. Next slide. There we go. There it is. mywritinghero.com/guild. So if you have enjoyed this week, if you have enjoyed this week, if you want to keep this going, we would love to have you in the Writing Hero Guild. writinghero.com/guild is the link to join and it's written on the wrong thing. It's a whole thing, isn't it? So it's the ADHD Writers Guild, but it's at mywritinghero.com/guild. So we are all here together. You're getting the whole like live raw shebang here. So I'm going to make sure that, let's see, I'm going to put up the link, make sure that people can see it. 1 second, make sure that everybody knows where they're going. And I can also take questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I think it is starting to get really confused, my poor computer. So I'm going to try to give it somewhat fewer things to do at once. But what I'm going to do, that's not what I want to do. That's the opposite of what I want to do. I want to pull up my face so I can see you all and we can chat. And I'm going to put the link com/guild. Putting that in there, putting it on. We do what we can. So that's the link to go. I'll leave that up there, and I am happy to answer any questions. And yes, so yes, the Facebook group is still available to you. I am freezing up a bunch, so I'm hoping that I don't go away, but I'm going to try and we're going to hold on. We're going to hold on for dear life, this poor computer and myself. But yes, that is where to go. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. And yes, this is a great question, Kez, something that I totally skipped over. So this is open. So the doors are open until this Friday at midnight Pacific time. I might have to check that. I think the countdowns on when you click that page, the countdowns on that page might be set to Eastern time, but I did intend to make those Pacific. So I may make some adjustments with that. Hey, you're getting it real. I'm trying to wear all the hats of a writer and a teacher and apparently like a web developer. But here you go. Listen, hey, the last time I gave this workshop, my entire computer, I had to shut down my entire computer, and I started the celebration party, I think like, I don't know, 20 minutes late. It was a whole thing. It's a thing that happens. So yes, Friday midnight Pacific time is when the doors will close. And the reason that I do that is so that I don't have to focus on too many things at once, that I can, when we're doing the workshop, I can go all in on the workshop. When we're doing the guild, I can go all in on the guild and everything in between. And so that's why we have the doors open for just a short amount of time. What's going to happen, the way that that's going to work is the doors are going to close midnight Pacific time on Friday. And then and then I am taking several days off. Our opening ceremony is going to be on, I believe, next Wednesday, the 8th. That I'm the same way. I'm in the same way, Elizabeth, that I hear you. But the first of the month is only a few days away, which crazy. How did we get to September 2021 already? I don't trust it. But yes, so Friday is the deadline. I'm going to be taking a handful of days off. Then the school year is starting and I still teach. So I'm going to be back in the writing center when the school year starts up again. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time off before the school year starts and before we start. So we'll have our opening ceremony on I believe it's the 8th, whatever that Wednesday is. It's next Wednesday is when our opening ceremony will be, I believe, noon Eastern time. So hopefully that is that is time zone friendly for folks. And remember also that we have that bonus. So if you are one of the first 10 folks to join us at the annual rate, then you will get a private consultation with me. So no idea how fast those will go. Totally. We'll just see how it all shakes out, which is kind of been how these last couple days have been going, at least technology wise. But we will be rocking it, and we will be rocking it together. So if you have any, oh my goodness, Rachel, my son is 7 on the 8th. Totally impossible. It's impossible. Sometimes I just don't believe in time, or I believe in time too much. I don't know. All right, so that's there. I am going to pull up. I'm going to see if I can. My computer seems to have settled down. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to take the risk and try to share my screen again. I think just a moment. I'm going to let it calm down a little bit more. But in the meantime, if there are any questions at all, we've covered a bunch of questions kind of during the presentation, but if you have other questions, absolutely happy to answer. Yes, 2 Elizabeths. We ended up with like 2 Kirsties. We ended up with like, we have a few repeating names. It's one of those like, is everyone who's ADHD like has the same like 5 or 6 names. The other thing that we found was, we were like wishing each other happy birthday as the year was going along, and just like there's a whole bunch of us who were born in like January, February, and it's like astrology is like I know that like astrology is like, Is it real? Is it not real? You know, I don't know, but I've got to say, I think like half of us are Aquariuses. So amazing. Okay. So, yeah. So if there are any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Write question, big block letters. If you're on the fence and you're not sure if this option is right for you, you can always jot down, I am on the fence because, big bold letters, capital letters, I am on the fence because, and then let me know why you're on the fence, and I will try to help you out. And I'm not going to pressure anyone that this is no. So Carol, so a week from Wednesday, that's when our opening ceremony is. So that's where like we're having like a party. That's when we're hanging out. So the doors are going to close Friday night, midnight. This Friday, that's August 3rd, 4th, whatever the date, the August 3rd, sorry, September 3rd, 2021 at midnight. So that's going to be 11:59 p.m. 11:59 p.m. That's when the doors will close. Then I will be taking a few days off to rest and refresh so that I can come back and we can start our party on that following Wednesday. So that's what the schedule is there. And so, yeah, as a Leo with a weird name, I have to disagree. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Maybe we can put up a poll or something in the workshop group and figure out if there's any sort of like astrological overlaps. But in the meantime, if you have a question, drop it in the chat. And I'm not just talking about questions about the guild. I'm talking about questions about all of the things that I talked about in terms of next steps. So if you're trying to figure out the best way to DIY it, if you're trying to figure out the best way to use like one-on-one stuff, let me know. If you're trying to figure out what next step, I don't know what I knocked off my desk, but it made a noise. Oh, it was a cup of pretzels. That's fun. So if there are any questions about next steps, if you want to tell me about your situation, what's the best next step for me? I'm going to be honest. I know last year when we were opening up the doors for the very first time, there was like, I had plenty of conversations with people about whether or not this was right for them. And there were a couple that I said, you know what, it sounds like it's not. It sounds like it's not the right place for you. So I'm going to be honest because again, that community is really important to me. So if I think this is the right place for you, I will let you know. And if I think that your best next step is somewhere else, I'll let you know that too. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and then also let me know if you are on the fence. So if you are on the fence, say I am on the fence because, insert that there so that I can help however I can. But also happy to answer any questions. So I'm going to try to do a couple of tech things. Maybe. Perhaps. Can you break the yearly price in two? So the year, you have two options. You've got the monthly price and the yearly price. And with the yearly price, you'd get the discount of you get the added discount of I think like $94 is the discount between like a year of paying the yearly or a month or like a month to month. And so so if you want like to be able to just kind of pay every month, then the monthly option is what I would recommend. So Tracy wants to know what's the fence. So let me see. So I've been having, anybody who's here can tell you, is that we've been having quite the adventure when it comes to the technology side of things. So I'm trying to pull my slides back up so you can get a little bit more context. But I think that should do it. So I'm trying to pull things up. Oh, that's really cool, Carol. Used to write an astrology column for a women's magazine. So my first ever job out of college, I got an internship at a local newspaper, and but then I ended up I ended up doing a pretty good job because I was moved to being a staff writer and a staff editor pretty quickly. And so that was like my first job out of college, was writing and editing for a local paper. And one of the things that I had to edit was the horoscope. So we had the like daily and weekly and monthly horoscopes that would come out, and I would have to edit those. I would have to proofread them. I would have to, yeah. And so like sometimes I would have to get in touch with the person who wrote them, because I was just like, today's Leo horoscope is exactly the same as yesterday's Taurus's horoscope. So can you tell me what the new one is? And so it was really, yeah, it was quite, it was fun. It was a very interesting job. I got to talk to a lot of people. That's the fun of local papers. Bye, V. So glad that you could join us. Thank you so much for being here this week. This week has been so amazing. It's been so amazing, and we are keeping the momentum going. The group and the replays are staying up through September, not August. I said August accidentally earlier, through September 17th. So you will be able to catch up on those. You have plenty of time to catch up, but also remember that if nothing else, if all that you take away is that you are, if all that you take away is that you are not broken, there is hope, and that you can build a writing life that works with your ADHD brain, not against it, not building a writing life for somebody else, for somebody else's brain, not trying to make your writing life look the way it should, but building a writing life for you, knowing that that is possible. If that's all you take away this week, then you are all caught up as far as I am concerned. Amazing. Liz says, a year later, and I'm committed to another year. It really has helped. Thank you, Liz. Liz is a rock star. Liz not only is, I think we mentioned this before, but Liz is not only a writer, but she's also a graphic designer. So lots of outlets for creativity, which is so awesome. Bye, Dee. All right, I'm just gonna pull up, I think I can pull up the thingamawhat's it. We're having a good time. Maybe? Okay. Hey, you know what? Technology is technology. Yes, Smiley. That's what you're taking from this. That's all I want. That's like, and that's why I said before several times over, you have everything that you need. I did not hold back this week. This week was all about getting that next step towards the writing life that you want and that you deserve and that you get to have, because you do have this awesome brain, and it is powerful, and it can be a powerful tool, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. All right, so there we go. I'm trying to bring this up again. Hopefully that'll come up. There we go. That is what we were talking about for context. I'm hoping that my computer doesn't implode on itself, but I'm trying to make sure that everyone has the information that they need. Amazing. Kez says, I want to write. I have so many scraps or unfinished projects. I worry I'm not writery enough for a guild. Maybe just imposter syndrome. I'm going to pull this up and I want it because I want to address this. Because I think that this is something that's really important. One thing that I want to address is that we're all there, right? That we have folks who are in every stage, right? We have when Ria joined, Ria was just starting to work on her memoir, had just kind of like just decided to work on her memoir, or was at least in those really early stages. And and then we also have folks like Liz who had written a whole book before, but was having troubles kind of finding the writing zone again. We have folks in the group like Melanie we haven't talked about, but Melanie is an amazing fiction writer who has an MFA. And so, you know, like very much an advanced writer. But then we also have Rachel, who is a new mom, and we love Rachel. And Rachel is working on her first novel, and she's been working on it for a while. And it's like a high fantasy type story, and it's going to be a series, and so there's a lot of moving pieces, and she's a new mom as well, so that's like what yeah, so she's learning kind of how to balance things, as well as like, how do I make this thing that I've been working on for a while and that I've had in my head and I've had in my heart for so long, how do I bring that out? And so there's such a range in this group. The thing that really unites us is, oh, and Carol's taking off. Bye, Carol. It was so great to have you here. Keep hanging out in the workshop Facebook group. That's going to stay open until the 17th. So keep hanging out there. And yeah, so if you have any questions at all, feel free to send them my way. The doors to the Writing Hero Guild are closing. Sorry, I keep saying that. Writing Hero Guild. That was its original name, actually. And we changed it. We voted as a group, and we collectively changed it to the ADHD Writers Guild, which I was stoked about that choice. So I'm so excited to welcome folks in. For those of you who are concerned about budget, send me a message and we can talk about this more one-on-one, so that you don't feel like on blast in front of everyone. Because I definitely know the feeling. I don't get paid over the summer. So I work at an institution and I don't get paid over the summer. So I didn't have, and then or at least until the school year starts. And so this year I didn't have a paycheck between April and mid-July. Nothing, no paychecks, only like freelance work and stuff. So I definitely know what it's like. I'm absolutely would love to chat with the folks who aren't sure, or who have those kinds of budget concerns. So I definitely hear you out. But as I said, that first option, that DIY option, might be a great choice, right? So if this isn't in the budget this year, DIY option, there's a lot of stuff out there. If you need more support, the hiring someone one-on-one is probably out of the price range, if that's a major concern. But this is the way to the guild is kind of that middle road. So very, very happy to chat with folks more about this, because I absolutely understand that concern. But I want to come back to what Kez was saying about how how having like scraps of unfinished projects, that's like the norm in the group. Most if not all of us have scraps or unfinished projects. That's the vast majority. And then we have a range. We have a range within that. Oh, I'm freezing again. There we go. We have a range within that, right? We have folks who are kind of like have are like kind of nearing some kind of destination, right? Like Ria just finished her first draft of her memoir and is getting ready to do some revisions. And then we also have Liz, who is getting that momentum back. And we have kind of everybody in between. We have folks who haven't touched their writing in a really long time. We have folks who came in not really knowing what they wanted to write, but knowing that they had a story to tell. And so that's what's up. So it's really, yeah, I think like, Kez, if that's your concern. I also learned relatively recently when I was chatting with, I think I was chatting with Kirsty, that the word guild has a kind of different connotation depending on where you are. And so like what my understanding is in like the UK, guild feels very like, oh, it's a guild. And the way that I'm using the word guild is that is in that kind of traditional sense of the guild is what they called a group of craftsmen who were working on improving a particular craft. And so because that's who we are, and that's what we do, is we continue to grow, and we continue to work on our craft, and we continue to work together and come together and be in community with one another. And so that's why I called it a guild. And so it's definitely not a like, haha, we are the guild. It was more, it's this group of people who's all kind of dedicated to that same goal and who has similar struggles. And even though we're working on vastly different projects and we're all at way different stages in our writing journey, we are all still coming together because the goal that we have is the same, and that is to build a writing life that works with our brains. And I want to bring up, yes, Elizabeth, I'm going to be honest. I want to write. I've been saying that my entire life. I totally identify with that. I've wanted to write. I knew I wanted to write since the 4th grade when I wrote a limerick, and I will recite it for you now because it's maybe, I don't know, embarrassing, but I wrote a limerick in the 4th grade. We had a limerick assignment, and I still remember it to this day because my teacher gave me a compliment on it. And I think just the dopamine from that compliment just carried me through the rest of my days, because I think I've just been chasing that dopamine ever since. And the limerick was, there once was a jolly old clown who insisted to stand upside down, but then at the circus he could not go berserkus, 'cause now every smile's a frown. And I thought I was so clever, and I still think it's a pretty good limerick, and I was hooked from then on. So I definitely identify with that. I've been saying that my entire life too. However, I'm also newly diagnosed. Whoop, whoop, welcome to the club. We only have one agenda and we never get through it. Welcome to the club, newly diagnosed, and have felt so this whole week, and I never have before, and that's why I am joining. And I am so excited that you're going to be joining us, Elizabeth. This is going to be rockin'. I'm stoked that you're going to be a part of it. It's going to be amazing. Carol's taken off by Carol. Story waiting to be written. That's what we like to hear. Keep us posted. Let us know how it goes. Vashti's taking off as well. Bye, Vashti. Yes, Vashti's leaving us with the message. Love it. Do your best, no matter what. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Anamika, I won a prize for a 3-sentence story in kindergarten, rode that way for years. Yeah, that's what it's all about. That is what it is. It's just like we get that one little taste, and it's like, well, this is clearly what I have to do with my life. My sister is a mathematician. My sister just got her master's in mathematics, and she got this like entry level job, and the salary of that job makes me wish fewer people told me to follow my dreams. I tell you what. Because dang, I went into the wrong field. The big bucks are in big data. That's for sure. And the great thing about the guild is that like everyone has a slightly different goal in terms of writing career as well. Like there are some folks who like we have a handful of academics whose goal is really to be able to keep up with the academic publishing pace. And so that's how writing plays in their career. We have folks where writing is more of like a side gig, like a side hobby and more for fun. And then we have folks who really want to publish and who really want to share their story more broadly. And we had a guest several months back, Diana Fo, who was who's an amazing editor. She was an editor at Tor Books for a really long time, and now she works at Serial Box Publishing, which is an amazing press that does kind of like multimodal storytelling. And so we had Diana come in and basically give us a whole tour of the publishing process, mostly from a fiction perspective, but she also offered some tidbits for the nonfiction folks as well. But we just got us from start to finish, what does the traditional publishing process look like, which was so useful, just to have that like deep dive where we just kind of had the conversation of what that process looked like, what the steps were, and how we could take those steps ourselves. So I think that like it's great because Smiley wanted to be a dinosaur. I wanted to be like I wanted to be Steve Irwin for a while. Like I think in kindergarten I really wanted to be Steve Irwin. Just like as a job, I just wanted to be Steve Irwin. Like not even really like I wanted to be like I thought you could like grow up to be. They said you could grow up to be whoever you wanted, and I wanted to be Steve Irwin. Anamika needs to get going. I am so glad that you're here. Such a joy to get to know you. We're still here. We're still around. That Facebook group is going to stay up as we move into at least the next couple of weeks. The material is still up. You can still watch it, and we're going to continue cheering each other on. And then you will all be able to whoosh right into our larger free group that has, I think, almost like 400 people now. So it's a little bit larger than the kind of like smaller, intimate group that we have. But yeah, so I'm gonna make sure that everybody who's in this group is like automatically accepted into the next. So I'm gonna handle that probably sometime next week. Make sure that you guys are all on the list so that when you request to get into the other group, it will just whoop, boop you right in. And so if anybody has any questions at all, feel free to reach out. I am here to chat, and I am here to be real. So if you want to talk about I'm on the fence and I'm not sure what the next step is for me, let me know the situation. Give it to me real. Let me know what's going on, and I will give you the best advice that I can, because I want you to make the best decision for you and for your writing life. And I'm going to be totally honest as to which option I think makes sense for you. So let me know if you have questions. If there are other questions, I think we've answered most of the ones that have come through so far. But yeah, if you have questions, drop them in the chat, reach out to me. I'm around. And again, this is about what is possible. This is about what is possible, the next steps that you have, the opportunity that we have, not just as individuals, but as a community, to spread the good word, let people know it is possible to build a writing life for your brain the way it is right now. And we don't have to apologize for who we are. We don't have to apologize for the way that we work. We can be the writer that we have always been meant to be. And we can finish the projects that mean the most to us. And you can do that. You can do that. And you've proven that you can do that because that's what we've seen this week, right? Earlier in the presentation, we had those word clouds, right? That you are just like total 180 from the beginning. In the beginning, the words that were being used to describe writing, especially the idea of writing consistently, though the words were used as the words that were used were things like impossible and can't and and never and all of these absolutes and feeling that kind of stuck and trapped and like not going to change. And then a week later, less than a week later, we have completely turned that around. And the words that you're using now are possible. I can do this. Yes, that's Smiley, that you're feeling empowered, that that it's not just possible, that it is within reach. And it is something that is real, that is happening for you. And it started happening this week, and it's going to continue happening as we move forward. And I want to hear about it. So always keep in touch. I'm in the groups, so we'll always be checking in with each other, and we'll make sure that we have everything that we need to move forward. And I am so, so excited to be welcoming folks into the next phase of the journey, whether that is the DIYing it, or whether that is working with somebody or some folks one-on-one, or whether that is joining the guild. You guys are all taking a step forward, and it's amazing. Kez says, part of the appeal for paying for something is my determination to get my money's worth out of it. I super identify with that, because I've gotten a lot of like free stuff that I have just never touched, and it's probably super valuable, but I'm not getting any of the value out of it because I don't have anything. I don't have anything on the line. So I feel you on that. Kez says, I'm going to the gym out of pure defiance. Yeah, well, and gym memberships are hard to cancel. Here's gym memberships, they want to keep you trapped. The ADHD Writers Guild, you can cancel anytime. And if you join in that first month and decide, you know what, this isn't for me, we have a money back guarantee. So it was important that this was a as low risk decision as I can make it. That 30 days money back guarantee, and you can cancel at any time. No worries. We're not going to be like a gym where it would be like, well, you have to fill out all these forms and then like call someone, and then you have to like draw a trapezoid with your left foot while like jumping up and down on the other, and then also you have to like call someone on the actual telephone, as if that's going to happen. Yes. Love hearing that. It's been like such a great week for me too. It's been exhausting. I'm going to pass out after this, but it's such a wonderful week to be able to just kind of share with people, where I can show up in a sparkly sweater that's way too hot for where it is. I'm schwitzing again, and I can show up and be myself, and my computer can be totally on the fritz, and y'all will still hang out with me. Yes, absolutely. That it's like having a writing coach on retainer for when I need the tools. Yep, that it's like, instead of paying the one-on-one person hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you can have that kind of a more targeted level along with the community aspect, and you can and yeah, it's there when you need it. That's the thing. Yeah. Thank you, Kez. You've been amazing. It's so wonderful to hear. Thank you. And thank you for writing that amazing blog post. I don't know if anyone here follows Kez on Twitter, but Kez tweeted out an amazing blog post on that talked about this workshop experience. All right, I'll see you later, Smiley. I think that we are going to wrap things up. We're just about to touch that 2-hour mark. And I want to thank you those of you who have come on for all of the calls. Thank you for those of you who have watched all of the replays. Thank you to those of you who have watched 2 minutes of one live call that you can't even remember which one it was, and everybody in between. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to engage with this workshop this week. And I hope that you will take from this that it's possible for you, and that we're better together as a community. And so I will see you in the Facebook group. I will see a bunch of you in the guild, and I will catch you all on the flip side. I'm going to close us out. Bye for now. And yeah, I'll see you around. Thank you so much. This has been an incredible, incredible week. We're not done yet. We're still hanging out for a couple of weeks while the replays are up. So keep engaging with each other and embrace this community. Embrace the process of creating the writing life that works with your brain, not someone else's, not building a writing life that you think you should have, but the writing life that you actually want. And I am so thankful for all of you taking this journey with me. I will see you all later. Congratulations on finishing this week. It's been an amazing experience, and I will see you all on the other side. Bye for now.